Hey guys, how's it going? We just went live, so let's give it a little bit more time. Let people hop on before we kick off. Got a lot of questions from the community that we'll focus on. But just give it a few more minutes before we get into it. Got a lot to cover today, so it should be a good one, hopefully. Where's everyone watching from? You can write in the comments. I'm back in Hong Kong. God, it's been a little bit of time on the road. Always good to be back. Can you hear okay? Oh, is it?
Check the Wi-Fi.
It says the connection is, I don't know, it says it's okay. Is it lagging?
Yeah, it's like frozen.
Oh, that's weird. Let me see on my phone. It says the connection is Inception. Now there's people watching. Greetings from Turkey. Waiting for the exciting news this week. Welcome, Onur. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's give it a couple more minutes, then we'll kick it off. We've always had a very strong Turkish community, though, I will say. Cornish Crypto UK. I think you're a Cornish trader. If so, you're an absolute legend. Shout outs to the UK. Are you guys all getting choppy video? Vaco said it's a little bit slow and choppy right now. And Onur, I'm doing well, thank you. Happy to be back in my normal routine in Hong Kong. It's good to be in the office, always good to be around the team, but had a really successful trip over to South America and the US as well as the Middle East, which took about a month, pretty much constantly on the road. I'll just give it one more minute, 7:05 p.m. here, and then we'll get it going. So basically, kind of some of the main topics I want to cover today is just general updates, kind of where we're sitting. There were some questions from the community about, how we weathered the storm from last year. So just wanted to give a general and ecosystem update on everything. A little bit more about some of the strategy and products, what we're working on, what we're building, what's coming. There was a lot of questions about Soma. So I'll do my best to answer some questions about Soma. I think a lot of it was with respect to timelines and launch plans and airdrops and things of that nature. So we'll get into that. A lot of questions about the Ohm token, what that is going to do, and what the future utility of it's going to be. So we'll talk about that. Talk about Mantra Finance, which has some exciting news coming. So that's kind of the main topics. Obviously, this is meant to be more of a conversation with you guys, rather than just me talking for an hour. So ideally, you can ask live questions as well. We pre-fielded some questions to make sure that there's enough to discuss today. But also, if you have questions, please just write them. I see the comments and can respond pretty much on the spot, assuming I'm not in the middle of talking about something else. So I think that that being said, maybe we can kind of just kick straight off and get into it. So good to be in touch with the community again. It's been a while since we did an AMA. A lot has changed in our strategy and our thinking, and just wanted to kind of get back in touch with the community, share a little bit more about what we're doing, what we're building, and talk with you guys about our future direction. So I think last year for us was an interesting one. We had a lot of big plans. We grew a lot, which had its own unique challenges, growing a team, growing a business, managing with that kind of operational change is significant and difficult. And I think we did a good job. We learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes along the way, to be completely honest. But I think that's the life of a startup and how you get better and how you grow. So on our side, it's full steam ahead. We always say, or I always say, building the bear. It's the best time. 2022 for us was really a year to get our strategy and our foundation together. And 2023, what we continually say, is the year for shipping. And I think you're going to be excited about some of the new stuff that's coming, and that's coming soon. So without further ado, let's get into some of the specific questions, and then I can talk a little bit more about the general strategy updates and things like this. So one of the first questions we got from the community was, how were you affected by the collapse of big players like FTX, Terra, etc.? I think this is a really good question. We have some interesting stories with both of those companies and firms and businesses. I'll start with Terra, and then we'll go into FTX. So Terra, we were big users of early days. Myself personally, as well as the business, we had a very large stake of Luna on our Terra node, and continue to have Luna staked and run a validator for new Luna blockchain. It was definitely a challenge, and one of the things that we faced last year was obviously, effectively having millions of dollars of staked Luna on the treasury without when our assets were staked to the nodes, particularly on Luna, to 21-day unbonding, if I'm not mistaken, if I can remember correctly. And obviously the collapse of Luna happened, like that. And that was a bit of a tough, bitter pill to swallow. My life certainly changed drastically, because of that event. I had a lot of Luna. I'll be honest, it wasn't really a non-event for me individually, as well as a lot of members of the team. I think there's a lot of lessons that we learned from Luna. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we are doing now, and some of the inspiration that we do from some of these ecosystem rules, from some of the token economies that we're building, and even concepts like what we're doing with tokenized real-world assets on Soma and Mantra Finance. These have came from inspiration from projects such as Mir and others. So that was definitely a challenge. I think it. I think it was something that we had to kind of learn and go through, and definitely, was something that made us stronger in the end. And honestly, I mean, it wasn't fun to deal with. It seems like we're having problems with the connection. Let's see. I guess it's okay. Anyway, I'll let the team deal with that. It was definitely something that we weren't expecting, and obviously we build in more risk parameters, risk models, and how we kind of deal with these type of situations in the future. So hopefully we won't have to deal with a Luna-like event going forward, but was just something that was a painful process, but we dealt with it. On FTX, we actually had no direct exposure at least, and that was due in part to kind of our initial relationship that we had with Alameda and X. So I don't know if you guys remember, but in the early days, FTX and Alameda were supposedly investors, and by supposedly I mean they told us that that's who was investing. And Alameda did write a check into Mantra's SAF round. Supposedly FTX did, but actually we found out later that it wasn't FTX per se; it was an employee of FTX. So we were a little bit misled there. There was a bit of a situation with a project in the Polkadot ecosystem, had with us in the early days, and there was a lot of FUD coming out. People saying I was in prison, that we were just white monkeys working for some Chinese guy, which was all frankly bullshit. Excuse my language. That they basically threw us under the bus and made us remove all public about FTX and Alameda and how our association was meant to be with them. They said that we were going to get listed on FTX. That never happened. all these different things. And I've never actually told this story publicly. It's a little bit of an interesting one to share with you guys. But I think now it's not a bad time to say it. And all the tough challenge. I mean, getting flooded that hard and then having to deal with a big supposed supporter throwing you under the bus was not fun. But that led us not ever to do anything with them in the future. So I think there's a silver lining to that one. And, again, just like any situation in life that you have to overcome, stronger, you have to deal with adversity. And I think that's just the way that we do things here. At least that's the way I try to deal with stuff. Okay, it's still choppy. Can you hear me at least, Vaco? Let me see if I can get this fixed. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Seems like it's still really choppy.
The sound is fine, it's just the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, the sound.
okay. As long as you guys can hear me. Do you think I should try my computer? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be. Hold on. I think you can send me the link.
Yeah.
Can hear you fine. All right. Thanks, Ross. Let me try on. Oh, sorry. Let me. Hold on. We're going to try on my computer. I'm using someone else's to see if it works. As long as you guys can hear, that's what matters. But ideally, we're not freezing all the time. Mantra Finance. No worries. Just bear with us. I'll stay longer. No worries. You guys don't mind. He says, "Oh, now the audio is choppy." Fucking hell. Oh. Oops. All right, guys, hold on. We're just trying to switch over computers, see if it works. 55829. I was going to log in before us. Oh, is it? Wait, this one's the. I can actually see. Oh, we can invite. I can just copy this there. I'm just going to send it to myself on the WhatsApp. Sorry, you want to do that? I want to look at your. Pop it on the computer. We can have two cameras. Two Johns.
Two Johns.
I don't know if this is going to work. All right. Does this work? Can you guys hear me now? How's the video and audio?
That's good enough.
Good? All right. Cool. Well, let's get back to it then. So perfect. All right, let's use this one. It's a little bit weird seeing myself in two cameras, but let's give it a shot. All right, so where was I? So FTX. Yeah, FTX was an interesting one for us. We had to deal with all that FUD, all that situation. I mean, there's even like obviously we're in WhatsApp groups Telegram groups with the team, and there's even screenshots of SBF commenting that he was about to say something about our partnership, and then obviously never did. So long story short, again, we just didn't end up actually, really ever doing anything with them additionally, and that meant obviously we were not going to keep assets on an exchange like FTX. That just is never what we do. We don't actually keep assets or treasury assets on exchanges anyway. So generally, just from our best practice of how we run the business, we either have like multi-signature wallets where we keep company assets and business assets, as well as custodial accounts, and we work with a bunch of different custodians, HexTrust, Fireblocks. We're trying to integrate with other ones, Komainu and a few others, Copper. So we'll talk a little bit more about that from the strategy perspective, but it's definitely something that is a lot safer than a centralized exchange. And obviously it plays into our whole narrative of creating decentralized financial products, DeFi products, that are trusted, that are safe, that are compliant, in certain cases are regulated, and that's going to be part of our strategy going forward. So hopefully that makes sense. So another question, are there new exchange listings coming, such as Coinbase or Huobi? No, I mean, not really at this point in time, to be honest. I mean, Coinbase potentially in the future, if we want some US access, but we will obviously be listing Ohm on the Soma DEX, which we think is going to be a good venue for it. We're launching our own DEX in the not too distant future, which will be native to Mantra Chain, which is a Cosmos SDK chain. Talk a little bit more about that as well. Huobi is, honestly irrelevant since we're on Binance. Really, the only exchange that would be worth the time in a significant way is probably Coinbase, but it's not at the top of the list right now. Binance gives us enough liquidity, and it's one of the biggest in the world. Okay, so one of the questions I think is really good and maybe sets the stage a little bit is help me understand the relationship between Mantra, HeliSwap, Soma, etc. So if you think of Mantra as kind of two pieces, you have Mantra DAO, which is essentially an offshore structure with the DAO incorporated out of the Seychelles. And effectively that is governed by the token holders. The token holders are the beneficiaries. And, as an Ohm token holder, you're a participant in the DAO, and you have voting rights, you have value accrual, and you have all these different things that we're trying to build out for the ecosystem. The council is meant to be stewards of the DAO. You have Mantra Group, which is actually kind of a group structure that has ties into the real world. We have a couple different business lines. We have obviously the software development side. This is what helps to employ, to do financial back office work, pay taxes, all these different things that supports the DAO with whatever type of business activities it needs to do. And that's just Mantra Group, you could call it. And it also has other businesses like Mantra Finance, which is obviously the kind of the regulated entity that we're building for our permissioned and regulated DeFi platform for the international market. And then, of course, you have Soma, etc. The Soma is obviously outside of the purview completely of Mantra Group, but it is partially owned by it. Soma is its own thing. Soma is a joint venture between Mantra Group and a U.S. broker-dealer called Tritorian Capital. I've worked with the Tritorian guys, Bill and Jim, for a long time. They're awesome. They have really unique licensing that Will and I helped get back in 2019 that allows us to operate compliantly in the United States, which obviously is a very important market. And honestly, where a lot of people are getting into some serious hot water with the U.S. regulators. And effectively, we believe we have a path forward with the U.S. regulators under existing securities and kind of financial regulations in the United States market. So effectively, you have these three entities, right? And then you have HeliSwap as another one. You'll have Mantra Chain Foundation, which is another one. But effectively, how it works is you have the group, which can service them as a software development business, which can also provide other types of services to the DAOs, software development, back office stuff, et cetera. But then each individual DAO will have its own kind of council, its own governing body, its own tokenomics, et cetera. What we've effectively done is that all these different projects which have stemmed from the initial conception of Mantra DAO will always be kind of this Mantra DAO will effectively, and Ohm will be the core of this whole ecosystem, right? So all of these different tokens that will be spun out, whether, Soma is going to have its own token, whether it's, HeliSwap, which obviously has its own token now, Mantra Chain will have its own token, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of these projects will have value accrual back to Ohm. So as an Ohm staker, as an Ohm holder, you will be entitled to a portion of this token supply going forward in the future. The idea here is that as an Ohm staker, as a participant in the DAO, participating in governments, et cetera, over time, you'll be entitled to claiming rights on these different tokens. That also means you have to bring value to these other projects as well. Of course, it's not all for free. So for example, on Soma, if you are a staker of Ohm and you're eligible for some Soma, you'll have to go over and maybe KYC, for example, and get onto the Soma platform. Soma is a KYC platform. For HeliSwap, you need to go over and claim the tokens on HeliSwap, and maybe that means you have to bridge over and move over to Hedera. So that would be a benefit of actually the HeliSwap platform, because then you're actually becoming a user and experienced participant on the platform itself. AUM obviously is the Mantra Chain token. That's a little bit more tied in just because it'll be the native chain for the ecosystem. So hopefully that kind of gives a little bit of a primer on what that actually means and how we're seeing the whole ecosystem together. There's definitely a lot that's kind of not 100% public just yet because we're still working on some of the details. But effectively, you can think of MantraDAO and Ohm as the core of everything. Sorry, guys, I think I got kicked out. There we go, I'm back. Anyway, basically what I was saying is these allocations that are going to Ohm stakers and Ohm participants are pretty significant. And as we continue to unveil tokenomics, you'll see what potentially can be accrued as an Ohm staker and holder. And obviously this is meant to be over an extended period of time because as the value of these other ecosystem projects improves, it'll mean that there's even more reason to buy Ohm, to stake it, to hold it, to then be able to have a claim on future airdrops, on future claim drops, however you want to call it. So I think that's kind of the mechanism that we want to use. And actually, this is straight from the Luna ecosystem model. And part of the reason that we're doing it is because when I was a very big supporter of the Luna ecosystem back in the day, as a Luna staker, we were effectively getting airdrops of various ecosystem projects like Mir, like Ankh, like et cetera, Mars, Astro, et cetera, which ended up becoming significantly valuable in due course. And that's a model we want to replicate. So hopefully that makes some sense. So let's go into strategy and products. So I've basically said it's general ecosystem, strategy, products, Soma, and I've already talked a little bit about this. Ohm token, Mantra Finance, et cetera. So let's do strategy and products. So the first question is, are you building, well, there's actually two. Are you building a Cosmos SDK-based chain or parachain? And the next one is, are you going to get a parachain on the Polkadot ecosystem? So initially when we launched, we were obviously intending to build within the Polkadot ecosystem. Things developed a little bit slower, particularly with the chain that we were meant to be building on. Not really sure what's going on there still today, to be honest. But, we had to build out and launch the product. The first version of MantraDAO with staking, some of the lending and borrowing, the launchpad, et cetera, Mantra Pool, with something, right? We had to hit our roadmap, which we did. And, we really needed to kind of get things out to market. And, we ended up obviously building a lot of things on Ethereum. The market changed, our strategy shifted. And we built things on Polygon, on BSC, which is now BNB chain. And, again, the model just kind of changed a little bit. And, as part of that, we originally were not going to be building any, on any specific chain other than maybe EVM compatible ones because of resourcing and then the ease of use. And obviously that's where a lot of the users were and traders were. But as we continue to develop our strategy, as we continue to develop our roadmap for the future, it made more and more sense to build our own chain. And then when we looked at it, there was pretty clearly at that point in time, two options of what would make the most sense to create a high performance, scalable, low cost, and modular blockchain. And, generally those are either Polkadot or, Cosmos SDK or Cosmos ecosystem chains. And we'd obviously had a lot of experience running Cosmos ecosystem nodes. We were supporting of, Luna and Band and Kava and, a bunch of them, Atom and, whatever. So we had a lot of good experience working with that. But additionally, one of the things that attracted us to that in the beginning was that, there was no additional cost. One of the kind of the downsides, obviously there's upsides to this, but one of the downsides was having to raise money for a parachain auction at the time, cost hundreds of millions, if not even billions of dollars, where frankly, we just thought that would be better suited for, raising money that we could then use to build out the products, directly that benefit the users rather than locking it into a smart contract where the users get paid something. So I understand the shared security model of Polkadot, and I'm not trying to poo-poo that. It just didn't make sense for us at the time. And obviously having worked with Cosmos SDK and with the ecosystem, we were pretty happy to kind of go in that direction. So we are building a Cosmos SDK chain. We've built out a chain already. We've built out a bunch of different modules and are working on a bunch of different additional features that sit on top of it. Our idea is to create Mantra Chain. And effectively, it's kind of interesting because, last week, Coinbase announced Base Chain, which they're calling a permission chain for permissionless applications. I actually think it should be the other way around. And that's legitimately the positioning that we're taking is a permissionless chain for permissioned applications. And, so far what we've seen is that actually the reach of regulation, the reach of the law effectively ends at the application layer, right? It doesn't actually start at the infrastructure, the protocol layer. So I actually personally think Base Chain is doing it slightly the opposite way of us. Maybe the wrong way. Might be right for them, but it wouldn't be wrong for us. We have these, in our opinion, very strong potential permissioned applications such as Soma Finance and Mantra Finance, and creating a permissionless infrastructure that allows, Web3 applications to be built on top of it. But then if you want to get access to, real world assets or regulated products or even fiat on and off ramps in a more simplified kind of permissionless manner, you can come to us. Obviously it would involve some level of KYC, but we're even working on things like a decentralized ID or soulbound NFT module, which we've already built, that will sit on top of this so that, you could effectively be able to interact with these type of real world applications through a permissionless on-chain system. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. Obviously, that's in the works, and we're planning to launch the chain towards the end of this year. So we're actually working on finalizing the legal entity and setup of Mantra Chain, which will be based out of Switzerland. So the Mantra Chain Association, will be out of Switzerland. So that's something to look forward to, particularly with the AUM launch as well. Most likely AUM will also be offered via Soma Starter, which is the US launchpad on Soma, which will be very cool. So that's the question for Cosmos SDK chain. Next question, are you guys going to continue launching IDOs? So really when we're launching a lot of Zendits and doing these kind of unregistered, unlicensed, unregulated offerings, obviously the market was peak bull. And it made sense at the time to just have that type of product because people wanted it, the users wanted it, and it gave something for the users to do in a utility for Ohm. We always, literally from day one, have been saying that the Launchpad model in DeFi was a race to the bottom because you're just trying to launch more and more projects. There was little to no due diligence on many of them. I mean, admittedly, that wasn't our job, right? Our job was to create a platform for people to launch projects on. The due diligence was on the end user. But at the same time, we just knew that this wasn't going to be a useful product in the future. It was a very, there was no moat around it, frankly. It wasn't sustainable. There was always a new launchpad coming with some new gimmick. And we just always thought it was going to be highly commoditized and easily replicable. So we wanted to get away from that model very early and very quickly. And actually, that's when we really started thinking about, hey, we have built out all this interesting tech now. Why don't we combine that with the licensing that Tritorian has in the United States to create, a bridge between this regulated and licensed activity and this kind of DeFi, on-chain, non-custodial environment that we're used to building in now. And that's really the precursor to, actually beginning to build Soma. Originally, we were calling it like OMX or something. That's a little bit of a tidbit for you guys. And then obviously became Soma, which is obviously specific for the US market. So we will definitely do, I wouldn't even call them IDOs, but capital formations, token issuances, future raises for projects, particularly in the United States market, because in the US we can actually offer these primary listings and primary issuances effectively to a US retail audience, which to our knowledge, no one else can do. We do them in a compliant manner. We do them under Reg CFs, which is a regulation crowdfunding, so we can raise up to $5 million per offering, but combined with a Reg S, which is an international exemption, or even a Reg D, which is a US accredited exemption, we can raise a lot more money. So there's a lot of ways that we can do this, but in my mind, the product itself it's also a little bit cyclical, market cyclical and market dependent. So, we do want to make sure that particularly in the US market, it's just different, right? The model on the IDO Launchpad was just as much as you can, as many launches as you can. On the US side, it's only about quality, right? And frankly, I don't care if we do 0 launches this year from the Launchpad, other than Soma and maybe AUM, so 2. It's all about making sure that the quality of the project is high, but also that we know who's involved. We've done our due diligence, and that honestly is a capital intensive and human resource intensive process. Going through a due diligence process, raising capital, if anyone's ever done it, is challenging. I mean, it's really hard. Proper investors, sophisticated investors, take a significant amount of time. They ask a ton of questions, and having to do that constantly for projects, takes manpower, it takes resources. So in the shorter term, particularly as the market's a little bit more sideways or in a bear market, honestly, I would say the core focus for us is really to preferably focus on the exchange, the assets that can be traded on it, like the tokenized public equities, ETFs, other different things. So listing high quality assets on the platform, and adding additional features and functionalities and products. So that's really kind of where I'm thinking we should be focusing, at least on the Soma side, from the Launchpad perspective. Internationally, I just don't see it as relevant. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't have the product in the future, but for the time being, it's just not really the core focus. So a question from Onor. Previous bull one was great for Mantra, smooth TGE, exchange listings like OKX, and finally Binance were great success. What are the future plans for next bull runs in terms of listings and partnerships? Great question. I mean, I will say, having launched Mantra 2+ years ago with Will and Rod, we honestly, we knew what we were doing, but we didn't know what we were doing. And a lot of it was figuring it out as we went, I'll be completely honest. And as part of that, we learned a lot. We built technology, we built products. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. We failed, we had success. But we grinded the whole time and we learned the whole time. And I think over that period of time, we've learned so much, and we'll be integrating all of that success, all of that trial by fire into what we're doing going forward. And that also means that we've gained exposure to different networks. We've increased the caliber of the people that we work with that are in the team, the type of investors that we're talking to, the access to capital, the access to talent, the access to all these different types of resources has just taken it to a whole nother level. And I mean, I think that's one of the most exciting things about my job and why I love it so much. I don't really think it's a job, it's just my life, is that, every day is growth. And I think we'll continue to do that in the next bull run. In terms of some of the partnerships and the people we're talking to, I'm not going to throw, names out there, but, we are talking legitimately to, larger financial institutions, banks, asset managers, funds, et cetera, that are on, a tier 1, like that creme de la creme of the world. Obviously, we're not in partnership with them right now, but, these type of conversations take time. And, it's really exciting to be in the room with these guys because, they would have laughed you out of the room 2-3 years ago. And I've been in the space for a long time. Thinking about what's to come makes me really excited about what we're building, and obviously even more exciting to share with you guys in the future. But in terms of listings and things, obviously we have this good network already with Binance and all these other exchanges, so we're connected and plugged into a lot of these ecosystems already, so that's great. We can continue to leverage that. But I think some of the other ones in the future that are more on the traditional side of things, will be interesting because, really one of our mottos, particularly, on Soma side is bridging TradFi and DeFi, and on the Mantra side is getting access to traditional capital market asset classes in a DeFi non-custodial way. So these type of bridges that we're building will bear fruits in the future, and we're really excited about that. As we talk about all the time, building the bear. 2023 is the year to ship. So let's fucking go. I say that a lot. I probably shouldn't say that all the time in public, but whatever. Let's see. Andre had a question. What alpha do you have to share for us that you didn't get to share yet? I will come back to that one because we'll talk a little bit more about Mantra Finance later today. Actually, the next question is literally, when are you going to launch Mantra Finance and Mantra Chain? Is there a more specific timeline or date? Okay, fine. Andre, you're going to get your answer. So, we are excited to be building Mantra Finance, and, to kind of give you guys a bit of a primer on what that is. We're going to be launching our Mantra Finance light paper, which gives you a little bit of an idea about what the product is, what's the unique selling point, who's working on it, what are we building, later tonight. And tonight, I mean Hong Kong time, so just in a couple hours. Mantra Finance is effectively our international equivalent of Soma. It'll be slightly nuanced, slightly different. They're not going to be competitive in any sense, much more collaborative. And, we hope that they'll be able to support each other, because a lot of the tech that's built on one will be composable with the other. Obviously, both of these platforms will be integrated on Mantra Chain in the future. And, we definitely want to leverage the fact that there's, regulatory arbitrage that can be played. The US is a market where the SEC, the regulators are, they have a very clear set of rules. They have a very clear guidance, a lot of oversight. And it's one of those places where you got to ask for permission, not for forgiveness. Internationally, there's a lot more gray. There's 190 plus countries around the world, right? So, from that perspective, having licensing in all of them is impossible. In the US, you have one license and you get the biggest market in the world. And, that's an amazing thing. It's a very powerful tool. It gives us huge access to the market and a huge moat around the business. Internationally, the idea is that really it's more about scaling, utilizing this, licensing that we have in the United States as a way to open doors in the international market, but actually being able to innovate and create interesting products that are maybe a little bit less cumbersome because of the oversight of a US regulator. Right. So that's definitely a benefit. On the international platform, the idea is actually to be, it's like kind of like Binance.com, Binance US, or previously FTX.com, FTX US. We're not going to be like that, obviously. But the idea is that they would be separate and they would have different products on each. And depending on where you're from, you'll be able to access one versus the other. Soma is actually a product and platform that's meant to be open to everyone. So you can be an international participant as well as a US participant. Obviously, the international platform, we will not have US persons on it. And the reason for that is because we don't want, the oversight of the SEC in the US touching that particular platform. They will have different product suites. They will have different assets on them. There'll be some that are the same, some that will cross over, and there'll be a lot of cross-pollination between the two platforms that'll be really successful. Mantra Finance is actually in a closed beta right now. It's being tested. We're getting a lot of good feedback from some of our core community members. So shout out to those guys for all the really amazing feedback, for giving us some good thoughts and ideas and constructive criticism on what we can and can't do. But actually, we're going to be opening up, and this is maybe the alpha, is we're going to be opening up an open beta. So it's kind of the MVP product of what Mantra Finance is going to start with and where it's going to head next week. So, users can join the waitlist and begin getting onboarded to the international platform as early as next week. So we're really excited to kind of start getting back to shipping, launching stuff. I told you stuff is coming. It is coming. Literally, it's here. And, this is going to be the first version of the product, but we're going to continue to iterate, continue to add features, continue to add new and interesting assets and products onto it. And we're really excited about kind of getting back to the execution and grind mode, rather than just the strategy and getting the foundation together. So that's definitely what I like to do. It's right around the corner. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So hopefully you guys will be able to check that out. We're starting with effectively kind of an earned product, which will be primarily based off of staking. So it'll be a staking product. I'll, be the first to admit I do not love the way that it's designed. And the reason I'm saying I don't love it the way that it's designed, not from the visual perspective. I think it's amazing. Our designer, Kendi, and UX guy, Kendi, is an absolute legend. But where we see the vision of this product headed is so much more. So you can think of, depositing stable coins or even fiat currencies into this platform and being able to get access to multiple different, validators and staking nodes in one single transaction. So kind of like what I call a POS ETF, or other different types of tokenized real world assets like tokenized treasury bills, or tokenized corporate debt, or other type of fixed income instruments that you can then get exposure to from your USDC or other types of assets. So this is really an interesting product for everyone around the world who may not have access to these type of financial products from their native countries. And obviously we'll be able to create even more incentives and more functionalities around this in the future, where you have tradable tokens that represent your ownership of these staking pools. You'll be able to leverage them. You'll be able to do all different kind of stuff. So definitely check it out. Again, this is the kind of the open beta, so it's not the final version by any stretch of the imagination. We welcome any and all feedback. Please let us know how you think. We want to continue to improve, continue to build it out, and continue to make it as successful as possible going forward. It's going to be a pretty cool platform in the future. We're going to get there. We're grinding right now. So, again, as you guys get on board, give us feedback, talk to us. We're here with open ears, and the more you give us feedback, the better we can make the product. So, please let us know what you think. But that's coming next week. So very excited about that. And make sure to check out the light paper tonight, which is launching in just a few hours, hour or two. Let's see. So let's see. Soma. What is happening with Soma Finance and airdrops for Ohm holders? So I think I talked about the airdrops part a little bit already, but what is happening with Soma Finance? So Soma obviously has been a work in progress for a while. As I mentioned just a little bit ago, dealing with US regulators, you need to ask for permission, not for forgiveness. We have licensing, but we want to make sure that the regulators are comfortable with our products, the way that we're structuring them, the way that we're building them. So we have an active dialogue with, both FINRA and the SEC about how this is going to look. And, frankly, we're definitely going to be the first DEX that trades tokenized equities on the platform. I mean, in the world, let alone in the United States. So it's going to be pretty amazing to do this in a compliant way. So we're pretty excited about that. Actually, I think technically there may be some platforms in like Singapore. I think XSwap has something, but for sure for the US market, there's no regulated DEX that allows for, smart contract based permissioned trading of tokenized assets such as Tesla shares or whatnot. I think one of the really cool things that maybe is not coming across with the Mantra community just yet, or maybe you'll find out a little bit more, is the kind of the benefit that you're going to get by holding a tokenized asset like a tokenized version of Tesla, Tesla in this case on Soma. You get all the benefit of the tokenized world, so you can trade it 24/7. It's fractionalizable. You can purchase it with USDC or wrap Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like this. But at the same time, you also have the underlying asset, generating value for you. So in the synthetic world, like a synthetic stock, you don't actually get the underlying exposure. You get exposure to the price, but you don't get underlying exposure to the real world asset. In this case, every Tesla token is backed by a real share of Tesla. So if Tesla pays a dividend, you would get that dividend. If there's a voting, there's a meeting for voting for the governance rights, you also get those rights. So you don't give up the real world benefits, but you get all the tokenized on-chain benefits. That also means that when we have all these securities like Tesla shares and Google and Amazon and ETFs, et cetera, in custody, we can actually lend those out in the real world to banks, to hedge funds, to short sellers, et cetera, who are going to be paying real world interest in dollars. We will then be able to pass that back to Tesla token stakers, for example, as a liquidity provider on the Tesla USDC pool. You could actually get paid to be a liquidity provider, not just for the passive market making trading that's happening, but also for being a participant in that lending product where we're lending them out on the real world. You're getting that passed back to you. You get paid in USDC, so you're literally getting real world yield, which is a pretty amazing feature in my mind. And we can do that for a lot of different products. So I think that's one of the really cool things that's coming with Soma. But without going too much into how excited I am about the Soma project, we've made a lot of progress on these conversations, talking with the regulator and with the tech build out. We are launching the onboarding very, very soon, this month. So people are going to begin to start getting onboarded. And then from that point forward, we're going to move into the Reg CF, which would be the public offering of the token sale, or the SOMA token, excuse me. So not too far off, we're going to be launching. And then from that point on, we're going to go into the lock drop, which is locking liquidity, and then into the DEX launch, then into Earn, into all these different products. So we have a lot of really exciting stuff ahead for the rest of this year and just for the next couple of months, actually. But really the next step is getting people onboarded. We have a huge list of individuals. I think it's, hundreds of thousands of people who are trying to get access to this, which is pretty exciting. So we're going to be getting people onboarded, getting them ready to go, and then giving them access to the SOMA token public sale in the not too distant future. And then obviously after that happens, then the OHM community and the OHM stakers will be able to also participate there too. So that was the questions on SOMA. Is there any tentative timeline as well? Okay, let's see. OHM token. What is the utility of OHM in its future? So I did talk a little bit about that already. One of the things that we're seeing on our side is that effectively OHM is the center of the OHM, everything from the ecosystem, whether it's SOMA, Heli, AUM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Heli's already launched, so huge shout out to the Heli team. They've done an amazing job getting that out there, getting that launched, and I think the lock drop was very successful. They have a very ambitious and very exciting roadmap ahead, so excited to kind of see what they have in store. I believe the DAO is launching on the HeliSwap side very quickly, so I believe there's going to be some pretty interesting announcements coming from their side that you guys should definitely check out. So go check out the HeliSwap project, get in their Telegram, get in their Discord, ask some questions. Really a lot of cool stuff is coming on that front. And then obviously as part of that, OHM stakers will be able to get access to Heli going forward in the future. And again, there are going to be some cross-pollination with the two platforms. We're going to work on ways that we can, collaborate and partner and provide value for both user bases and both communities. Obviously, Heli's on Hedera. So it'll be exposure to a new low-cost and scalable chain as well. But if you have questions, make sure to go hit up Max, Andre, or Ainsley. They have some really cool stuff. And, it's going to be a pretty exciting road ahead for them. So make sure to go check them out. In terms of SOMA, I just talked about that as well. AUM, we have a pretty cool platform that we're building on the Mantra chain. That's coming also this year. So there's going to be a lot of really interesting stuff. And I think the idea is, we don't want to launch Mantra chain without applications that it's already going to be, running. So, some of the first integrations will be Mantra Finance. We'll have, earn and yield and investment products. We're going to have, obviously, a DEX. So the Mantra DEX itself will actually be a CLOB. So central limit order book DEX. It's going to start it as just an AMM, but then we're going to put a CLOB or order book on top of it. So you'll be able to trade on chain in a very cheap, efficient and effective way. Sorry, definitely not inefficient, very efficient way on chain with actual limit orders in place, but also with the functionality of being able to yield farm and swap directly and things of this nature. So just some more enhanced functionalities for traders, which we're pretty excited about as well. Again, this will be native to the Cosmos ecosystem, built using CosmWasm and Cosmos SDK. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So definitely be on the lookout for that too. Let's see. So what's the OHM emissions plan going forward? Weren't they only decreased for the month of February, or was it a longer period? So I think the proposal that passed was that we would be continuing to reassess the OHM emissions going forward. And one of the things that we do want to do is, move some of the emissions from the existing platform into the new one, which is obviously Mantra Finance, which is launching in the not too distant future. So, definitely be on the lookout for that, because as obviously, and as always, as an early participant and early staker, that's when you get the juiciest reward. So make sure to hop on over there quickly and be an early access participant to that. Happiness of the team from Onor is the core thing to be successful. What makes you more happy to do your favorite food? What's my favorite food? This is I think it's a little challenging. If I had to pick, I think my favorite food is watermelon. I absolutely love watermelon. I could eat that all day. That's an easy one because I definitely like watermelon. But the happiness of the team is obviously a really core thing and something that I think about a lot. Kind of in my position and helping to build the team and lead the team, it's really important to to continue to see and show what our clear vision and path forward is. So I think that's one of the things that I'm trying to do this year is to present a clear path forward and then be able to build out the process and plan to execute that. And then obviously communicate that along the way. Fortunately, we've been, blessed with a very strong team and a lot of really amazing people to work with. So I really just love going to the office every day and, spending time with them. It makes it really exciting to build what we're building. The technology is amazing. I like all the actual building stuff, but it's the people that matter in the end of the day. So that's really cool. And hopefully we'll be able to spend more time together because obviously I was just traveling for a month and I always enjoy the trips. They're always beneficial and needed, but it's always amazing to get back to the office and be with the team. Let's see what else. We're almost getting to the top of the hour. I mean, I have a couple more questions that we can probably go for, unless there's others from the community. Let's see. Let me pick one or two. Okay. So what is the timeline for Heli stake drop in this one? So again, I think this is one where you need to go ask the Heli team. They'll be more than happy to field your question. They're building a pretty interesting roadmap, so go check them out. Heli's going to be, it's obviously live now. They had a very successful lock drop. I believe it was over 15 or 16 million HBAR that was locked. So that was an amazing launch. And, they really started the momentum in just the last week or so to continue to get things kind of rolling on our front. So with the Heli launch, the next thing that's coming or that came was the closed beta. Obviously, the next thing is the open beta. After that, we're going to continue to add products like the POS ETF, tokenized real world assets. We're going to launch SOMA. So all these things are coming in the the imminent future, and it makes it really exciting to kind of be part of the community. And obviously, being around and having stuck with us for over 2 years, I think is a huge accomplishment. And some of the OGs who support us since day one, really appreciate that. I take it very serious. The fact that it's not, we shouldn't take it for granted that you guys are here and supporting us. It's an amazing thing, and I really appreciate all that. Even when we have tough times and the market's down and token prices and all this kind of stuff, I don't really think about that stuff too much. But obviously, I know it's important for you guys, and we are here building every day. And I promise you guys I'll be more active on doing these type of community announcements, community updates, and just really spending time talking to you guys. Again, as I mentioned, when these products are getting launched, we really value and need your feedback. We're trying to achieve product market fit with these new products that we're launching in this new vision. So the quicker you give us feedback, the quicker we can iterate it, the quicker we can build it, the quicker we can fix it and improve it. And hopefully together we'll really become a market leader in this kind of new space of trusted and compliant DeFi. I think one of the things that's been missing in DeFi and partially because of the industry and the bad actors in it is that a lot of the trust is gone. Not just DeFi though, frankly. CeFi probably even worse. But DeFi also gets caught up in the whole crypto is bad, crypto's a scam thing, and we need to kind of change that narrative and work to build the trust of the community, be present. Obviously we're all doxxed, we're all here. We're gonna be there in the good times and the bad times, and not gonna shy away from that ever. So no matter what, continue to give us your feedback. We appreciate the support. Doesn't seem like there's too many more questions coming, so if there's not, I'll probably sign off soon. But I do appreciate the support. Hopefully this was an insightful and helpful AMA. I hope you guys enjoyed it, are excited about what's coming. Make sure to check out the Mantra Finance Light paper that's coming out tonight. We'll be announcing that and sharing details soon. And also make sure to give us some feedback when you're testing the closed beta. The open beta. That's coming next week. So be on the lookout. A lot of amazing stuff ahead. Appreciate the support as always. And thanks so much for the time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one. Oh no, I appreciate all the questions as well, man.